We all know sooner or later a coronavirus public inquiry has to happen. We all know there has to have one. We know, for example, just a bare start a couple of months ago where Boris Johnson was riding high. He promised a COVID inquiry one week, and then next week was very, very quiet about it when asked, because again, shall we say, the developing situation of COVID certainly took him down a couple of pegs. But we should definitely look at this and know full well that indeed this inquiry is not going to be kind to the Tories. They are the ones who have been in charge of this. They're the ones who have been responsible for pretty much every bad decision, and they are going to get absolutely slaughtered by it. This is why a lot of people are thinking that Boris Johnson, on purpose, decided to put the COVID inquiry till spring of next year, and then he can try, if he wants, to go for again an early election, potentially. Again, of course, if they get rid of the Fixed Term Parliament Act. But again, it's very worrying because again they're going to try and definitely use this to scapegoat. A lot of people, including myself, have said that Matt Hancock is probably going to be the scapegoat for this, when Boris Johnson and again even Dominic Cummings certainly deserve a lot of the blame and the disaster that happened this. Not only that, you've also got to remember a lot of the Tory MPs were crying about not having a lockdown at all. And remember, those, shall we say, who cried the hardest about not having a lockdown and we should just continue on as if normal, were also the ones who are also the loudest shouters for Brexit as well, because again, they are very hard right wingers when it comes down to it, because they didn't care. There's no other way to put it. They just didn't care. Go back to work and continue make us money. That was essentially their modus operandi. And of course, we are one of the highest death rates in the world. It's unacceptable. And yet this happened on a Tory watch, and they should never, ever, ever be allowed to be in government ever again, to be honest. But there you go. So, before we do, Joe, jump into this article about the obviously inquiry, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And also down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to those people who do support me that way. So this comes from The Guardian. The title is, "The PM Promises Bereaved Families of a COVID Inquiry Chair by Christmas." So a chair will be appointed by Christmas to the public inquiry into the coronavirus pandemic, and sessions should take place around the country, Boris Johnson has told the COVID-19 Bereaved Family for Justice group. The delegation of 5 people who lost loved ones to the virus also said the Prime Minister had described the wall of the over 150,000 hand-drawn red hearts, which the group had initiated in May opposite Parliament in London, is a guerrilla memorial for the deceased and a strong candidate to become the pandemic's official memorial. He also told them that while it was, quote, not his decision, I support it, it's very moving. He also said that he would be the minister in formal charge of the public he would be the minister in formal charge of the public inquiry, and supported the idea of the inquiry holding sessions in different parts of the country. Again, not his, shall we say, idea, but again, anything, shall we say, to delay this as much as possible. The group counts more than 4,000 families as members and has been pressing on the government for an urgent start to the inquiry. Johnson had previously only said the statutory inquiry would start in the spring of 2022. The people who met Johnson were Joe Goodham, co-founder of the group, Fran Hall, Lobby O'Connor, Charles Williams, and Hannah Bradley, and they will be joined by Eleanor Alberson, a Liverpool-based lawyer who previously represented families affected by the Hillsborough Stadium disaster. They said in a statement after the meeting that they were pleased Johnson had finally chosen to engage with them, but added, "However, we are still disappointed by the lack of urgency the Prime Minister displayed, as we see no reasons why preparations for the inquiry cannot begin now, particularly as nearly 1,000 people are still losing their lives each week." Again, they want to delay this as much as possible. Johnson can't turn around and say we're not having one anymore because he's already promised it. There would be a massive outcry if he were to suddenly turn around and cancel this. So he can't. He has to deliver on this. But if he, shall we say, takes his time, then it doesn't matter, shall we say, what damage this does, as long as this, shall we say, doesn't impact on their next general election. And that's what they're trying to do by slowing this down as much as possible. What really matters, of course, is what happens next, they said. The Prime Minister must appoint a chair as soon as possible, and he must stick to his commitment to the bereaved families having a role in deciding the chair and the terms of reference. We hope that we can accept the Prime Minister's commitments in good faith, and going forward, there will be an ongoing and meaningful dialogue with bereaved families. Like I say, this is our current. So this was on the 28th of September of this information. Again, it's still not good. It is still not good that we've got 160 deaths and those daily cases are still going up. That is not good. Johnson asked the groups to provide possible names for the chair, but Goodman questioned whether appointing a chair by the end of the year would mean hearings would start in spring. Goodman, whose father Stuart died in April of 2020, said, "It was very emotional for all of us to be able to look the Prime Minister in the eye and tell the Prime Minister what happened to our loved ones. It felt like it was a long time coming, and it was difficult when you think that if engagement had happened earlier, it could have made a difference. At the moment, over 100 lives are being lost daily. Even if 5 are preventable, it's worth the effort to get the ball rolling now." A Downing Street spokesperson said the Prime Minister gave a commitment that the chair of the inquiry would be appointed by Christmas. He's set out for that now, and he's right the public servants continue to focus their efforts on trying to tackle the pandemic before moving into the inquiry in the spring of next year. He welcomed the opportunity to hear from the bereaved families for justice on these areas and would like the inquiry to cover the importance of choosing the right chair and the panel members. And he reiterated that he takes full responsibility for the government's handling of the pandemic. Interesting. Very interesting. Remember that. The Prime Minister would welcome the suggestion that the inquiry should hold hearings in different parts of the country. The meetings took place 139 days after Johnson first promised to meet the bereaved families in August of 2020. The eventual meeting on Tuesday at lunchtime took place outdoors at the request of the group to ensure that social distancing was maintained and it was COVID secure. And it was a very pointed request after maskless ministers were photographed squeezing hands around the cabinet table. So I have full confidence this is going to happen. Of course, it's going to happen. There's no way Johnson can't make it happen. But if he can, shall we say, delay it for as long as possible so it doesn't, shall we say, affect the Tory performance at the next general election, then they will. Because obviously, if the next, shall we say, Tory election is meant to be in 2023, but the inquiry has not yet made its report back by that time, well, all the more reason, shall we say, to try and delay appointing the chair, appointing the people, the members to the group. So much the better for the Tories in the long run. So, of course, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a more donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.